As Dr. Jenner once said, the day will come when you won't be, and today is certainly that day for Rick Grimes. Welcome back to Fog Entertainment Season 7, Episode 1. We all know this is the episode is when you get to the top of the roller coaster and it's down for here. This is probably the episode where The Walking Dead died. I'm looking forward to reviewing it. I'm looking forward to the rest of this season. But let's be honest, Rick Grimes lost his balls.
He did, and I tell you what, Negan certainly isn't interested in living in any sort of dictatorship world. And if Rick lost his balls, then Negan was the one that castrated him here. Because we've never seen Rick like this. We've seen Rick upset. We've seen Rick experience loss. But we've never seen Rick be so helpless. We've never seen Rick be brought to his knees. Even when the group have been facing difficult moments, I mean, they had difficulties with the governor. It looked pretty bleak for them when it comes to No Sanctuary, and they were at Terminus. But Rick was always the one that kind of stayed strong, and you always felt like Rick was going to, come through the other side and win and come out on top. I mean, here, he looks like he's hit rock bottom. He looks like a guy that has been defeated. He looks like a guy that is basically Negan's bitch, and I think it's hard to take Rick Grimes serious from this episode onwards. And look, I'm not saying it wouldn't break a lot of people, but I'm not sure Rick can be the leader anymore after this.
Yeah, and you know what? I think rewatching this episode here, you can see why a lot of people tuned out. Now, here, 17.03 million viewers. That's a shit ton amount of people, right? But I think Rick is the leader of the group after this episode. It's just not realistic. It's like, seeing you watch a TV show, do you really want to see the main character get castrated this bad? Like, Rick's group needed to, they needed to come down for that cloud they were riding. Negan certainly did that. But I can't help but feel there is no way back for Rick Grimes after this. And honestly, does he ever truly get back from this? I wouldn't say so. Because he literally just got... he was crying. There was snot bubbles flying out his mouth, his nose, you name it. Every hole in Rick Grimes' body, man. He was shiting himself. He was pissing.
He was leaking from somewhere.
He was doing it all, damn it. But there was a lot of other people leaking throughout this circle. But the episode begins, heavy breathing. We've got people greeting. We've got everything. Somebody's dead. Maybe two people are dead. Rick sounds like, I'm going to kill you. Not today, not tomorrow, but I'm going to kill you. And Negan starts repeating it. You ain't going to do shit, Rick. Basically just grabs him by the scruff of the neck and fucks him in the feet.
Yeah, now, I was a bit disappointed with this. I mean, I get it. They want to flesh it out, I guess, and keep us waiting even longer. But for me, I think it should have just been a direct continuation of how Season 6 ended, and I would have just had the whole lineup scene play out without cutting and adding in this additional stuff. And they were cutting between like flashbacks and Rick in the RV having a conversation with Negan. Not really sure that was necessary.
I think it makes Rick look more pathetic. Like, Negan's goating him, like, oh, look, that axe is there, you could drive it through the back of my skull. Doesn't do it. He's lying on top of the RV. All your friends are dead, Rick. Hell, but hell, at least it ain't all of them, buddy. It's only a few of them. And Rick's just sitting there greeting, man. Black and white flashbacks, every member in the circle.
I mean, I get it. This guy had a gun, like, but Rick had a one-on-one chance here.
No, he did. And even when Negan was driving, and see when he's driving, right, he's preoccupied. We can talk about he's got a gun. But if Rick acted... And also, is it not worth taking a bullet? Maybe two? To try and kill this guy? Save your character? Save your morals? I mean, look at the amount of characters throughout this show. Look at main characters in TV show history. How many of the fucking head honchos would have sat and took this?
Yeah,
it
just didn't strike me as a leader. I can't think of... I mean, you look at some of the men that have been in the group, have been in this show. I just can't imagine Shane would have acted this way. I can't imagine Meryl would have acted this way. The governor wouldn't have acted this way. I mean, we've seen Abraham went out like a champion. Even Negan applauded him. Said he was taking it like a champ. Said he was taking it like a champ.
Man,
so, yeah. We get Rick and Negan. They're in the caravan. Negan basically tells Rick that, here, this is my world now and you live in it. You're going to do what I want, when I want, and the whole Rick Grimes show is coming to an end. And then we keep cutting in between this, like, current stuff and what is happening with Negan and Rick, and then the flashbacks of the previous night. I guess it's still the same night, but I mean, we can see it is getting a lot lighter outside, and I mean, Negan is already Lucille'd. I mean, at this point, I guess we only thought it was one person. Turns out he gets two. Now, we do see Rick have, like, memory flashbacks of every person in the lineup, so...
Remembering Eugene and Aaron.
Yeah, so they're like...
Was it a threesome they had?
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess they were kind of showing you from Rick's perspective. He was, like, suffering and showing, like, signs of loss, but they wanted to kind of drag it out and make you believe it could have been everybody in the lineup.
Like, Negan, no, but Negan's driving, right? And the walkers are splashing off the screen. He's like, remind you anyone you know, Rick.
And Rick's just like, taking it, man.
He's like sitting there on double one.
So eventually we do see it cut to Negan. He's doing the eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And, I mean, he ends up on Abraham. And, I mean, Abraham here is... I mean, everyone's on their knees, but Abraham's, like, you know, on his knees and making himself as big as he possibly can. Wasn't being a shitebag trying to make himself small, trying to hope that he wouldn't be noticed, wouldn't be picked. You know, Abraham was standing up here, didn't beg, didn't plead, didn't cry, didn't blow a snot bubble from his nose, just accepted it, took the first bat over the head, told Negan, suck my nuts, and that got a little chuckle out of Negan and everybody else, I think. Then Negan continued to batter down on Abraham with Lucille, was relentless, just kept swinging and swinging and swinging, and eventually there was not much left of Abraham's head, just a big pile of mush. Negan says, he just took 6 or 7 for the team.
Swings the bat, the blood cracks Rick in the dome, the blood's dripping. I mean, I think there's a wee bit too much blood dripping, right? He then provokes Rosita. He's like, oh shit, were you two a couple? Not anymore. Just burying Rosita, burying, then Daryl lets out one of his wee grunts, stands up, right hook to Negan. Negan's not very happy. But you know what, he respects it, and I like that, but Negan, he did respect this, but Dwight, he's got the crossbow over Daryl. You want me to do it? No, he doesn't want him to do it, so Daryl is dragged back into line, but Negan's like, you know what?
No, that shit won't fly here.
No exceptions. He basically points out once was alright. I can't really recall what the once was. Was it Rick basically burying him? I think it might have, well, not burying him, but say threatening to kill him. Look at Rick, though. Look at the situation they're in, and Rick's got the audacity to turn around and say, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day I'm going to kill you. You know what I mean? Like, how does he turn around and say that and then, like, start grating with snot bubbles coming out his nose, like, 2 minutes later?
Yeah, I mean, Rick, at this point, you should have just shut your mouth and sat there.
Yeah, so Negan then, out of nowhere, even though I thought the camera angle kind of gave it away, so back to it. Bang! Glenn cracked over the dome. You thought Abraham was just dying. Nah. No, it's Glenn.
Honestly, man, there's no way you predicted that. I don't care about the camera angle. You didn't think he was just going to turn around and
no, I didn't predict it at the time, but I'm talking about when you rewatch it. You
randomly smack Glenn. Glenn didn't do anything.
No, he didn't. No, would this have been better if he picked Daryl and then that's when Daryl punched him and then...
Well, I mean, to be fair, we did see in season 6 where Glenn actually did kind of try and get up and rush towards Maggie. So maybe that was what he was on about, you know.
I said once.
I'll let that
he took it on the guy who did it once.
Yeah.
Potentially. But again, Glenn.
But I mean, is Glenn getting up to try and, you know, be with his pregnant wife? Is that really the same as Daryl lashing out and striking him?
Definitely not. I mean, obviously. But then Negan's weird. He probably respects that. Well, he thinks that a guy going over to his pregnant wife's weird. Not weird, but he's like, nah, that's not very macho.
Well, I think it's a bit more weird. Negan being the guy that steals everybody's wives. But anyway, Glenn gets a shot and he's like, oh, holy shit, man, your eyeball popped out. And it's a pretty nasty scene. We see Glenn, head bashed in, eyeball flying out the socket. I mean, it's almost...
She's a vampire bat.
Almost landed on the fucking mat, almost landed on the ground. And he says, Maggie, I'll find you. And then bang, bang, bang. Negan continues to bash Glenn just like he did Abraham. And Glenn gets the same fate. Glenn and Abraham both laid there.
I'm sitting here wanting Daryl to deliver about 6 more punches so the rest of this job squad can get wiped out.
Yeah, and you know what? I actually think with hindsight, I mean, I remember there was a big build-up going into this and people didn't know who was going to die, who was going to get the Lucille, and you know what? I think it was a little bit unpredictable because we only thought one person was going to get it.
Yep.
But had we known 2 people were going to get it, I think you could have definitely picked these 2.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it was a toss-up between Glenn or Abraham who was going to die.
He was never going to pick a woman, right? He was never going to pick Carl. Rick was never going to get it. The only other guy it might have been for me would have been Daryl. I just couldn't imagine Aaron or Eugene.
And I think Aaron and Eugene would have just been shite bag options.
If those 2 are going to get it...
I think they were fine to get it as part of 2 people dying. But we didn't...
Maybe more like 4.
We didn't expect that, so... I don't think the show would have got away with keeping you waiting a year to kill off fucking Eugene or Aaron.
No. And could you imagine Eugene? I think Negan would have slipped on the puddle of piss for fucking trying to swing at him.
So yeah, I mean, with hindsight, very predictable that Glenn and Abraham were going to die. I will give them credit because I didn't see the Glenn thing coming.
See, looking back, right? See, at the time,
maybe I felt like maybe they felt they had to kill both to make it predictable.
I think that's what
because I think if they only kill one, if they go with Glenn, they're going to be like, oh well, they just copied the comics. And if they went with Abraham, they're going to be like, oh, well, they just went with the most expendable, like, you know, big guy that was there, the threat, Rick's number 2. Because, like, the other options just weren't really there. Daryl's popularity was through the roof. People were liking Glenn and didn't want him to die. And obviously they're not going to kill Rick or his, like, little teenage son, who, albeit does look slightly older, but is only supposed to be about, what?
13, 14?
I don't even think he's supposed... I think it's more like 12 or something, but yeah, so Glenn, Abraham, both gone. I mean, it's a good episode, and I mean, it was good scenes. I just felt like...
I think it's one of those episodes that was so much better at the time than it is now.
I felt like they tried to flesh out the entire death reveals and make it last longer, rather than just have it be over in like the first 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
A bit like Terminus. Maybe they looked at Terminus and went, oh, you know what, that episode was really good. No Sanctuary. It was really good for the first 15 minutes and kind of faltered out. Maybe they felt like, you know, they wanted to try and drag the reveal of the death suit for longer.
Yeah, like, I guess you could say you knew someone died, so therefore that's the start, and then when Glenn dies, that's surprise later on. But the actual death scenes come, like, what, a couple of minutes apart? Maybe Abraham should die immediately and Glenn halfway through.
Yeah, I mean, I think that could have worked, but yeah, I mean, it was good. We seen the whole Rick thing where he was out in the RV and...
Did my axe, prick.
Negan basically fucking threw his axe and told Rick to fetch.
Rick's jumping, man, then jumping jacks.
I mean, I'm surprised Rick didn't get on all fours and bring Negan the axe back in his mouth.
So,
start barking there as well.
Is he getting a bloody few treats, pedigree here? But he manages to get the axe. Negan helped him quite a lot, though, to be honest. They then return. He fires Rick back into the line, but the question is, like you said during the episode, what were the rest of them doing while these two were... For all the rest of them, though, Negan's bumming Rick in an RV.
Yeah, it was weird because, I mean, nobody appeared to have moved from their position. they're all still sitting in this circle, and you've got Glenn and Abraham just fucking laying there dead.
Yeah, just mangled bodies. He throws Rick down. He's like, "You're still looking at me the same damn way." I kind of disagree. I think by this point Rick was already broken, but he's about to get even more broken.
Yeah, Negan then grabs Carl. He's like, "You a lefty?" And he's like, "No, southpaw." So he grabs him, tightens his arm up with a belt, and then he gets a pen. He's like, "Hey, Simon, my right-hand man, you got a pen?" Simon's got a pen. He tells Rick that it's important to have a right-hand man, and he hopes that he didn't just eliminate Rick's right-hand man, which has he, though?
Nah, Daryl's always... I mean...
People were saying Abraham was Rick's right-hand man, but he never felt like
it was Daryl. Yo, Abraham's like the top guns man, you know what I mean? The gunslinger. Daryl's the right-hand man. He always has been, and he always will. Daryl's been the right-hand man ever since Shane took Rick out into the forest.
Aye, I mean, pretty much.
Like, when has there been scenes when like Rick and Abraham have been like talking as if they're best of buddies? Like even Rick and Daryl had that episode in season 5 where they were like goofing around with Jesus.
6.
That was season 5, was it not?
6.
Was it 6? Fuck, I was that. I thought it was ages ago. Well, that just proves it though. I mean, that was way more recent. Yo, after Daryl, is Abraham the closest to a right hand man? I'd probably say yes because I think Glenn's took a backward step. See, in the early seasons, I think in seasons 1 and 2, Glenn was like the right hand man to a degree. You go do all the tasks. Here, I throw a treat, you go get them, Glenn. But here, the right hand man's gone, and is the right hand going to go for Carl?
Well, it looks that way.
Just do it, Dad.
Negan's forcing Rick to do it. Rick doesn't want to do it. Big snot bubble blows out his nose.
I don't. We can talk about it.
Michonne tells him he does. It's alright, we understand you're in charge. You've made your point clear. But Negan's like, I don't think Rick thinks that. And I think Rick did think it. I mean, Jesus Christ, at this point, Rick's ready. I mean, never mind half the stuff. Rick's ready to give you everything.
I know.
But Rick, he tells him you got to do it. Negan gives him the countdown. He gets to 1. Rick is lifting up the axe. He's in a bad way. And then Negan stops him and says, I want half of your shit. And you're going to give it to me. So Negan lays down the law. And he, in the end, he doesn't force Rick to cut off Carl's hand. And basically, I mean, that's kind of it. Negan's like, I like Daryl. He's not a pussy. He's not a little bitch like someone I know.
Brilliant, the one. Rick's just sitting there. Oh, greeting. He's like, right, I'll be back in a week. Ta-ta. Fucks off. And then you just... The deafening silence of everyone just sitting there.
Yeah, it's awkward. Negan leaves with Daryl. Negan's entire crew's gone and everyone's just sitting there. I mean, at this point, I think fucking Abraham and Glenn were making more noise.
Aye.
And they were just...
I think Glenn was still twitching. His fingers were twitching a bit, man, on the floor.
I wouldn't go that far, like...
Bro.
But, then Maggie tries to get up and the group try and comfort her. Sasha and Rosita share a moment with Abraham. Sasha was looking at Abraham. Rosita was looking at Sasha thinking, how the fuck did he leave me to go with her? And I don't know, I asked myself that same question all the time.
Why did 3 people pick up Abraham but 4 picked up Glenn?
Abraham must have had a big heavy head, like.
And I tell you what, Eugene is an absolute shite bag. I don't care. He's a decent sized guy, but guys never lifted anything. Sasha, Rosita, and Eugene picking up Abraham.
Maybe all the
I thought the most unbelievable thing in this show.
Maybe all the weight was in Abraham's head.
Fuck, all the blood drained out him.
So they want to take the bodies back, what's left of them, which is not a lot, to be honest.
You all thought you were going to grow old together.
And that's not the case. Well, I mean, they might grow old together, but Abraham...
Not all of them, though.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, even if they don't die here, I mean, it's unrealistic to think that nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, then you get like the vision in Rick's head. Glenn and Abraham are at the end of the table. President and VP holding some kid. And then Rick looks back and this walker just emerges through the trees and starts licking and eating Glenn's like brain that's lying on the floor.
Yeah.
Sick. And I tell you what, right? See when this episode ended, it's like, holy fuck. This season's got potential to be fantastic. Like, it could breathe life back into this franchise. 9 years later, it's fucking
I feel
dead.
like there's lots of theories, though, lots of stuff to talk about. I mean, should the group have just left Alexandria? I mean, was that maybe not an option with Daryl? Maybe they wouldn't leave without Daryl, but I mean, at this point, yes, you've set up home here, but surely you could rebuild. It just, I don't know. I don't think I would be staying at Alexandria.
Oh, no, I think you get 2 options. You do a vote to Alexandria. They go all out. Fucking attack them with all you've got.
Yeah, before you give away your 50%.
Yeah. Or you leave. And I get it, they've lost Glenn Abraham, but see when you actually think of the fucking numbers, losing Glenn Abraham's nothing.
Yeah, no, I mean, realistically, right, Rick's group should have no chance. But we've seen how Rick's group's overpowered.
Aye.
And they've fared well against everybody else in the past.
Yep. No, there's other questions and theories like, was this justified for Negan? Obviously the brutality, right? It was way more brutal than what we've seen, Rick's group do to Negan's guys. Like, most of those guys got killed in their sleep, which is still brutal. I mean, it's still murder at the end of the day. But you know what? Negan still comes out of this heavily beaten. Even if he's completely fucking demoralised Rick's group. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, but you know what? Rick's group's probably not big enough for Negan to kill number for number.
See, if I was writing this, I would have killed off Sasha, Rosita, Eugene, Aaron, and I would have killed all them off as well. I know, it would have took away for Glenn and Abraham, but see, to me, what the fuck did they add? Nothing. Oh, but Aaron goes on to be Rick for the comics, and Eugene's less gay in future seasons, and Rosita has a kid with Father Gay, but what's that do for me?
No, I get what you're saying, but can you really just eliminate, 6, 7?
A bunch of E-listers? Yeah, I think I can. They took 6 or 7 for the team anyway. Rating time, what are you getting it?
I'm going to get, I'll get an 8. Maybe a 9. I'll get an 8. I'm going to give it an 8.
I'll get an 8, right? I didn't agree with the structure of the episode, but I can't deny it's probably one of the last great Walking Dead episodes. I think it's worse on second viewing compared to when you first watched it, but this is where the show nosedives for me. Next episode, we were debating what even is it. I'm pretty sure it's the Kingdom.
Actually, I'm going to get a 9.
8.5. There we go.
I'm going to get a 9.
Honestly, I will struggle to think there'll be an episode higher going forward for the rest of this show.
Yeah, probably not. This is about as good as it gets.
And that's it, guys. I like the fact that Jenner's quote was the title of this episode. To Rick.
I know, but even then, what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to die with Jenner in case something like this happens.
I know. Yeah, well, I bet you Rick fucking wished he did.
I know,
I bet you Rick wished he was tucked into bed next to Jenner.
That was shite bag material for
Bruce
Jenner.
Anyway, till then. Peace.